Hello everybody, welcome back to DKTR. My name is Darden, and today we're going to be checking out the DJI Ronin SC-2 to see if this compact gimbal stabilizer is really worth $500 US. The DJI Ronin SC-2 is a foldable gimbal that weighs 1.2 kilograms or around 2.65 pounds, and it has a maximum payload capacity of 3 kilograms or 6.6 pounds, which is enough to support most mirrorless cameras and some DSLR cameras depending on the lens you choose. A full compatibility list can be found in the description below, so let's take a closer look. Now we've got the Ronin SC-2 in hand, and what we're going to do is we're first going to talk about how to install a camera, then we're going to talk about all of the different buttons and features of the Ronin, and then we're going to talk about how to actually use the gimbal. So let's get started. The first thing you have to do with any gimbal would be to balance it. The RSC-2 makes this process super easy. There are locks in every axis, so you can balance the tilt, roll, and pan axes individually. Mounting a camera is very straightforward. Attach the camera riser to the bottom of your camera and slide it into the quick release plate. Then, using the silver lock on the back, secure it. To take it out, unlock the silver switch and press the silver release button. You can also use these axis locks to diminish the size of the gimbal and make it much easier to travel with. These ensure that the gimbal does not flail around everywhere since each axis is locked in place. In the front of the camera, there are 3 USB-C ports. The one on the far left is in order to connect the gimbal to your camera, and the other 2 are to connect Wi-Fi enabled accessories like the DJI Raven Eye. There is also a mount for the lens support. There is a built-in 1-inch OLED display that displays the gimbal mode, battery life, and can be used to adjust the settings. Under the display, there is a record button and a mode toggle switch, as well as a joystick that controls the camera. On the left side, there is a dial to navigate the settings and a back button. There are mounting slots on both sides where you can mount an accessory like the briefcase mode arm, and there is also a switch that locks the gimbal so you can fold it or use briefcase mode. On the right side, there is an additional mount where you can mount an accessory like the phone holder, and there is also a power button and a USB-C port for charging. On the front of the gimbal, there is a focus dial to manually adjust the focus, and below it is a trigger that can lock, reset, and spin the gimbal. On the bottom, there is a mount for the included tripod grip, but you can mount additional arms to it, such as this third-party gimbal grip. So now we're going to talk about the basics of operating this gimbal, as well as the 3 main follow modes, which are pan follow, pan tilt follow, and FPV mode. Pan follow is when the gimbal will follow my pans, so if I twist the gimbal stick to the left, the camera will pan to the left. If I tilt the gimbal stick towards the right, the camera will follow me towards the right. The next mode is pan tilt follow. So if I press this M button, it will switch to my second mode, which can be pre-programmed either using the stick on the side or the app. So I'll click in and switch it into pan tilt follow. Now this will follow my pans to the left and to the right, but now it will also follow my tilts. So if I push the joystick upside like this, the camera will tilt upwards. And if I push it forward and down, the camera will tilt downwards. So upwards and downwards. The final mode is called FPV mode, which basically will follow both my pans, my tilts, and also my rolls. 2 other options that this gimbal gives you are a portrait mode and a 360 roll. So 2 clicks of the M button will put you into portrait mode. It will basically tilt the camera straight upwards so you can take portrait video, which is good for Instagram and Snapchat and social media. The other mode is called 360 roll, which you click 3 times and it'll put into 360 roll. Then 2 taps to the left of the joystick will begin spinning the camera in a 360-degree fashion. This is for really cool video, which is like the whole room will be spinning in a circle, and it gives kind of a vertigo effect. So now that we've talked about all of the different modes of this gimbal, we're going to talk about what this front gimbal button does. Depending on how many times you press it, it will perform a different task. 1 press will lock the gimbal, 2 presses will center the gimbal, and 3 presses will place the gimbal into a selfie mode. So let's see exactly how it works. I am in pan follow mode, and if I face the camera directly at you and I start twisting, it'll start moving. However, if I face it at you and then I press in this gimbal button and hold it down, no matter how I twist or tilt the gimbal or roll the gimbal, the camera will stay oriented in the direction that I had it when I pressed in this button. And as long as I hold the button in, it will not lose that orientation. Now, if I let go of the button, it will start to spin again. So now if I spin it against my wall, and then I press it to lock, and I come back, and then I let go, it'll still be against my wall. And if I want it to recenter directly on, facing the way the gimbal is, I will just press twice. So 2 presses will now center the gimbal straight forward.
3 presses will place it into a selfie mode. So if I have it facing away from me and I want to start taking video of myself, I will press the trigger button in 1, 2, 3 times, and the gimbal will now spin and face directly at me. So it's kind of a selfie mode, which could be good for vloggers. One really cool new feature of this gimbal is called briefcase mode. So if you ever wanted to take gimbal footage low to the ground, you have to kind of scoop the gimbal down and kind of bend all the way over and try to hold it low to the ground. And that can be hard on your back and everything. So what you can do now is you can actually use this side latch and unlock it, and then break the neck of the gimbal basically until it's upside down kind of, and then you re-lock it into place. Now, I will double click the button and it'll spin around until it is now in briefcase mode, as they call it. So now you can hold it like this. So if you wanted to get really low to the floor, it's much easier and you can stay upright. You can also unscrew the handle here and then screw it into this screw right here and hold it kind of like this. And there is an additional briefcase handle that is sold separately by DJI. So this is a really cool mode as well, to go like that. And you can still place it into your different hand tilt follow portrait mode like this and take portrait photos and even 360 roll.
Now we're gonna head outside to see just how big a difference that the Ronin SC-2 can make versus just normal handheld video. I will be taking turns walking both with and without the gimbal, as well as jogging to see just how smooth the footage is. As you can probably tell from the footage, the Ronin SC-2 makes a huge difference, both walking and jogging. The camera I use has both optical inbuilt stabilization and IBIS, but was still extremely shaky. But the Ronin was almost able to completely stabilize the footage with only minor shakes due to me walking. However, if I walked smoother, the shakes would have been far less noticeable. The bottom line is that the footage the RSC-2 produced is completely usable, whereas the handheld footage is not. You also have the option to buy the DJI RSC-2 Pro Combo Kit for $740 US. It comes with all of the same accessories as the standard kit, but it offers some upgrades. Instead of the normal plastic tripod that comes with the standard kit, the Pro Kit will have a metal tripod. It also has a carrying case, phone holder, focus motor, and the DJI Raven Eye image transmitter, as well as some additional cables and mounting equipment. The Raven Eye image transmitter is extremely cool. It allows the RSC-2 to transfer the image directly from your camera to your phone and enables features like ActiveTrack 3.0, where you can select an object on your phone and the gimbal will automatically follow them. But you don't have to buy the Pro Combo Kit. You can buy all of the items I just mentioned individually, but they will come at a higher cost than if you bought them as the bundle. Now that I've shown you all of the features of the DJI Ronin SC-2, let's quickly talk about some of the pros and cons. Starting with the cons. The first con would have to be that all the accessories required to fully utilize all of the power of the gimbal do not come standard with it. You would have to buy the Pro Combo Kit or buy them individually to be able to utilize the gimbal to its full potential, which can get quite expensive. Another couple of issues would have to be that if you're using the gimbal for an extended period of time, it can get quite heavy and cumbersome to use, as well as the fact that if you are trying to shoot with the camera vertical, it can do that, but you have to hold the gimbal straight out in the kind of a torch javelin mode, which also is kind of hard to use for a long period of time. The final issue is more of a warning than it is an issue. Motorized gimbals are definitely more straightforward to use than other stabilizers like a Steadicam, for instance. However, that doesn't mean that you should expect to get Hollywood quality footage that is extremely smooth with no jitters immediately out of the box. There is definitely a learning curve when it comes to using a gimbal, and you have to learn how to walk to minimize your impact on the ground and how to move the gimbal around so you're not shaking your hands up and down before you'll get that perfectly smooth footage. But if you do take the time to work with the gimbal, you will get the results. Now let's switch it up and talk about some of the pros of the DJI RSC-2, starting with the fact that the motors are extremely powerful and relatively quiet. They are able to support my camera's weight with ease, and they don't make a sound. The next positive would have to be the OLED screen as well as the smartphone app, both of which are able to control the gimbal settings and as well as perform calibration tests and change the speed of the motors. It's just a really nice feature to have rather than just some buttons on the side. The smartphone app also offers some additional features, like you can move the smartphone in space and it will move the gimbal in relation to how you are moving the smartphone, which is kind of cool. The next positive would have to be the briefcase mode. Makes shooting low to the ground footage so much easier. Instead of having to hold the gimbal really low to the ground like you would before the briefcase mode was invented, now you can hold it at a normal height without having to break your back in order to get that low to the ground footage. The final pro I'd like to mention is the fact that every individual axis having its own lock makes transporting as well as balancing the gimbal much easier. The DJI Ronin SC-2 is a great gimbal. Its price makes it a good option for beginners, and it delivers performance that meet the standards of professionals. Learning to use a gimbal can be a daunting task, but I believe the results are well worth it. Whether you buy the standard kit or the pro combo, I believe that this gimbal can elevate your footage to the next level. As always, links to anything seen or mentioned in this video can be found in the description below. If you enjoyed, please feel free to like and subscribe. It helps a ton. Thank you all so much for watching DKTR. I hope to see you all in the next one.